Hey everybody. First off, I would like to extend my greatest appreciation to anybody and everybody that checked out the last podcast, which was my first one. Anybody who liked, who subscribed, who commented, who shared it. Um, I didn't think the reception of it was going to be that big, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate you guys spending your time just listening to me talk and ramble and talking some mambo jumbo. Anyway, so this is episode 2, and today I'm going to be talking about the South Jersey music scene. Um, if you're from South Jersey or surrounding areas, you know that music around here is kind of a big thing. It's a big little thing. Um, there's a lot of underground venues. There's a lot of DIY venues. It's a little more proper. Like going towards Rowan, you have some really dope art collectives like Art Heads Anonymous and 4333 who throw amazing shows. Um, and then and there's some dope venues like shout out St. Babs and Cape May Courthouse. They're a church of all religions, and they host and open up their doors to a wide variety of artists and musicians and bands and stuff like that. So and I've played there multiple times, and they're always great. They're always such amazing, welcoming people, and I appreciate them very much for doing what they do for the culture. There's also a place out in I want to say Galloway called Greenbrier. I think they just recently moved or something like that, but they had a lot of nice shows too. So big ups to all these venues and art collectives and stuff like that. But I just want to talk about a little bit of my experience with it, and bands that I've met and bands that I think are amazing and are going to do great things. Um, so I started making music in 2014. I started writing like acoustic stuff and it's my own songs and cover songs, stuff like that. And I jammed with my friend Bruno. Maybe I feel like a lot of you know Bruno. He's a drummer, and I call him my drummer because I'm like one of the only people he plays music with. But yeah. So then we started this band called Enclosure for a little bit. It's kind of a concept, and it was about like because I'm a very big fan of like jam bands, so I don't really have like a structure to like some of my songs. Like they have like verses and choruses and melodies and jam parts, but I like to play it different every time I play it. So we started this thing called Enclosure, where it was like whoever we're playing with, whoever wants to play with us, they're part of Enclosure. They're enclosed in the space with us, and they're with us for that moment, and that's just how it goes. So um we threw some shows in my old basement on Cherry Street, and if anybody has ever been to any of them, there are some of your greatest memories of the shows at the Nest in the comments below, and I think we started with a New Year's show because we usually like my friends, like I said in the last group, we have a tight knit group of friends. We throw New Year's parties, and for some reason, I think everybody's house was preoccupied or parents didn't want us partying there or something like that, rightfully so. And, I had an open crib. So what we did was we set up lights. I had amps. I had a plethora of amps, drum kits, speakers, microphones, sparkly lights, all this stuff. So we set up in my basement and we threw a New Year's party, and there were a lot of people at that party. And it was us Enclosure. It was Miko, Mike Delvecchio. I don't know if any of you guys know him. Um and Teenage Stepdad. And then I also want to say no, it was just those three, I believe. Because then the later shows was when, yeah. So it was just those three, and Teenage Stepdad are some of the coolest guys I know. Adolfo, Ed, and Markel. They're great musicians, and but they're not but they're a punk band, and but they know how to play jazz and neo soul and gospel music, and they're just amazing. They're amazing. So big shout out to Teenage Stepdad and all the guys in there. And yeah, so we just had this party, and it was a hell of a time. It was amazing. And I also believe no, the Kwame did not perform in that show. Either way, that was when we first started. We had that show, and there was, I want to say, upwards of 80 people there. In my house, I had a big house, but my basement was small, so it just made it feel so much bigger than it actually was, and it was an amazing vibe. And then after that, me and Kwame, also known as Loki Num, we who was my roommate at the time, we decided to throw a birthday party because his birthday is May 6th and mine's the 7th, May 7th. So we threw a birthday party that weekend. And it was me, him, Eric Shorter performed. We had a band, and this was the first time we met them, but their names was Stiffneck. And Stiffneck became just like a household name, and it was amazing, dude. We love them. They're a band from, I want to say, Wildwood area, and they would travel the hour and change to come to Violin and play with us, and they killed it every single time. The energy was off the charts. They always brought like their group of people, and it was always just an amazing time. So big shout out to Stiffneck. And they have an amazing drummer. His name's Caleb, and he's also a big factor in the New Jersey music scene, which I'll get to in a little bit. So yeah, they played, and then we also had a band called Fence, who came from New Brunswick, and dude, it was like Sasquatch. Like, you see this thing once, and it changes your life. Like they played my basement, and they did a Hotline Bling cover, and oh my god, dude, was it phenomenal! It was just so raw. It had so much conviction. Made you want to throw down in the middle of this basement, just so hard. And I actually still have, they left a snare drum at my house that day, and this was like a year ago, almost 2 now. And I still have that snare drum. So if any of the Fence guys, or if anybody's listening that knows Fence, knows how I can get in, like, I know I can just hit them up, but we've always like, I plan to get them the snare drum back, and it just never happened, especially with them being so far away. But like, I'm trying to get you guys your snare drum. So I still have it. I haven't forgot about you. I haven't sold it on Craigslist or anything like that. So yeah, they played, dude, and the energy was phenomenal. It was out of this world. It was amazing. And then also Teenage Stepdad played that night, and Kwame performed, and it was an amazing performance. The energy was just so high and so amazing. It was phenomenal. And I believe we had one other show after that, like a random pop-up show where I performed, Enclosure performed, Stiffneck performed, and the Customers. I don't know if anybody heard of the Customers, but the Customers were from Ocean City, and they are a great band as well. I wish I could remember all their names off the top of my head. They give me like the Doors vibes, like the Doors mixed with Mac DeMarco. It's like insanely raw and original, but like it's great. They're great. Go check them out. Yeah, so that was kind of my experience, at least in my town with the South Jersey music scene. But in all honesty, there's scenes before me, because I'm now 21, and when I was 14, I was going to basement shows down the street from my crib at this place called Steve's House. And they had shows with bands called, if anybody knows these local, heroes, Myself and Mirrors, Every Minute Can Kill, The Artisan, I can't remember any other off the top of my head, but they're very hardcore bands, and it was kind of the same energy that I had in my basement. It was just a bunch of friends supporting friends, and it just became this beautiful thing that was a great experience for all of us. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those shows and the people at those shows who made me feel at home, even as a kid. They're only a couple years older than me, but still, like, shout out like Derek Glenn. I don't know if Derek's listening to this, but he was, at first glance, he is a very scary guy. um, he has a big old beard. he's a big guy. He's tall. He's just big, and he looks like a biker. So like as a 14-year-old kid just walking up to somebody's house and this person is just there standing there. You know how like hardcore guys stand, they just be like. So I'm just like, yo, what the fuck's going on here? And he comes up, he's like, yo, dude, you want to try my vape? And like, I was little and like I didn't vape at the time, so I was like, nah, but thank you. And then we just started talking, and he is one of the sweetest guys and one of you know the most friendly experiences I've ever had. And he also makes really dope music. He had a band called Proud Parents for a while, and they had some really good songs and stuff. Um, Also, James Rodriguez, everyone knows James or Justin, which is his brother. They are, some people that I met there that just like stuck out throughout my life, and they were always just super kind to me and super just accepting and open. And like I just want to say thank you guys, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today in the capacity that I am. Okay, but yeah. So and then beyond that, it you start having like these, because I feel like in Vineland we have artists and we have bands, but like people don't really put in the time or have the outlets, or what's the word, they don't have the necessary things they need to do to get the spotlight they deserve, or the time on stage, or places to play. We don't have the outlets. We don't have the outlets that like we need to show our artistry. But when you start going closer to colleges like Rowan and Stockton, you start seeing that like you have a bunch of college kids, and what is there to do except drink and party? But then why don't we just add music into it? Why don't we just add these bands and stuff like that? And then that's where you get bands like Molly Ringworm, which is a band from the Stockton area, I believe, and they are just really dope. Alton's a great band too, who I've played with at St. Babs. I think we played, it was us, St. Babs, Stiff Neck, and another band, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, dude, and these bands are amazing, and I wish I could transport the memories in my head to all of you guys, so you guys can just feel what it was like to see these people performing and doing what they needed to do. And and they're just doing the things that they needed to do. Like they just were making their music and performing it, and they had a way to do it and a community to do it for. Rowan's music scene was a lot bigger than Stockton's, but at the same time, like Stockton's a whole different energy than Rowan. But like out in Rowan, like there's bands popping up. Like I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Corporate Dreamboat, R.I.P. They were kind of like a concept band based around Forrest Gump. And it was the trippiest thing, because I've never seen Forrest Gump, but I felt like I've seen the movie after listening to their EPs and stuff. And there's also like a really dope surfish, rockish, punkish band called Cheyenne Dan, who I fell in love with personally, and they make really dope crew necks on their Instagram, but they sell out in seconds. So like, make sure you keep an eye out for them, and just try to like support anybody that you can around here, because we all need it. And there's also Saturn Days, dude. Saturn Days is fucking amazing. I wish I knew dude's name off the top of my head. Like I don't think I've ever found out his real name. He just knows me as Keto, and I just know him as Saturn Days. But he has one of the most genuine souls that I have ever met. I think I met him once at a show there, and he was supposed to play at St. Babs with us one time, but there's like a miscommunication in the date of the show, so it all kind of fell through. And but he makes like psychedelic jam band stuff, but it's very, I want to say digestible, and I don't mean that in disrespect to like jam band stuff, but I feel like as a Grateful Dead fan, I understand why people don't like the Grateful Dead, and I understand why people don't like to listen to Grateful Dead, but he still has that kind of aspect where like he'll play for a while on one song, but like it's listen, like you can listen to it and you can dance to it and you can vibe to it and things like that. And there's so many people out here that like don't get the recognition they deserve because of our lack of venues and our lack of outlets and our lack of community to a certain extent. It's like I realized the biggest show that I've ever had at my place, my DIY venue, was on New Year's, and it was because everybody that I went to high school with was in town, and they needed something to do for New Year's, so they came, and we just were able, like, that was my whole process behind it. I was like, how am I going to get the most amount of people to listen to my music and other people's music? Let's throw parties in the way that a way and on dates that people are going to be in town, like spring break when people came back, Christmas break, summer, New Year's, and it's kind of disheartening. But as a musician and as an artist, you understand that, like, a lot of people don't give a fuck about you, like seriously, but the people that do are the people that matter. Like, fuck everybody else, fuck trying to make people want to care, about your music, you know what I mean? And just, provide to the people who do, and provide to the people who have constantly shown you support and constantly show you, like, dude, there are people at my basement shows that, like, I know of, and I knew their names, I went to high school with them and stuff like that, but we, no capacity did we ever, like, talk and, have a relationship as friends or anything, you know what I mean? But they were there. They were there at every show, and it was just, even if they just sat in the back and just sat there, like, I would always greet them and say, hi, what's up? How you doing? Thank you so much for coming out. And I knew there's a reason they were there. It was because, whether it was because they had nothing to do and they wanted to come and do this, or whether it was because, they truly enjoy themselves and they knew that it was a safe space. They were there, and those are the people that, like, I remember. Like, I could tell you the people that were there and the people that I saw consistently and that would stay and listen to the bands. 'Cause that's also a big thing too in the scene, is that, like, a lot of people will come and just listen to their friends' band or bands and just leave. And I feel personally that is so disrespectful. Like, you don't know if you're gonna find, like, your next, your next favorite band. And that also reminds me of, and I hate myself that I even forgot to say this in the beginning, but the Harambe shows. Oh my God, the Harambe shows, dude. Shout out to Saga Genesis. Shout out to Mooks Millie. They held shows in their backyard, and they were just, like, day-long festivals, like, of South Jersey artists, and it was, dude, the most amazing thing ever. Like, I think things like that. They had vendors. Like, they had food, they had dogs. Like, they would have dogs there. Like, who doesn't love a good dog at a show, And I think they were doing God's work. I hope post-COVID that we can all kind of get this thing popping again, because we have a lot of great artists. We have a lot of good people, and there are honestly a lot of shitty people in the music scene around here. But that's, like, a whole different time, and that's a whole different conversation. But the people that make it matter and the people that make this what it is are the people that I'm grateful for, and the people that, like, I will give the platform to. Not that I'm a gatekeeper of any sorts or that I have any type of say in anything, but that I will help provide them with outlets and platforms as much as I can to get them where I think they should be going, and as much as I think I can help them with, because that's the one thing that brings us all together is the community of it. It's the fact that, bands are traveling an hour away just to play a 30-minute set, whether they're on first, whether they're on last, or whether they're in the middle, or, sometimes you get to a show early and it bites you in the ass because another band is late and there's nobody there. There's nobody there to watch you play. So it's like, fuck, like, and it's a catch-22 because you can do it and get it out the way and then enjoy the rest of your night. At the same time, like, as an artist, you want as many people to listen to you and experience you, especially if you take pride in your art and what you do with it and how you do it. You want to show them the work that you've been putting in and the concepts that you've created, and just to not be able to have people to see it or experience it. It's kind of a bummer, but it's those moments that make you strive harder and make you understand, like, the way this world works, things like that. But yeah, that's really much all I got for today. just rambling on my thoughts, picking and choosing. Yeah, so just shout out to all the South Jersey bands and artists. I'm definitely going to talk about the rap scene and my experience, in it like eventually. But I just wanted to like basically talk about more of like the indie side and the more like band, music side of it. But yeah, once again, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys immensely, and I just hope you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful week, wonderful month, a wonderful moment, the time you're having. And if you're not, do what you got to do to make it better. Love and light to all.